Hello fam. Welcome to Irish Agility, a platform where we simplify Agile, a platform where we break down Agile related concepts to the granular level. So today I want us to look at a very important topic. How can you effectively manage dependency within a Scrum team? Or to rephrase it, how can you better support your team as a Scrum Master to make sure they're effectively handling their dependencies? So what are dependencies in the first place? So look at dependencies as relationships between work items, right? They can be stories, features. So these relationships will determine the order in which work needs to be completed by the team. So it's very crucial for us to identify these relationships and do adequate planning. So let's take this scenario, right? Imagine your team is building a user interface, right? That is dependent on another team, might be the UX design team, to actually come up with the initial designs. So your team needs to make sure you're working in collaboration with the UX design team to understand when they can complete that design phase so that your team can actually start their implementation. Without the completion of the design phase, your team cannot begin their work. So looking at this relationship, you bear with me that dependencies can become blockers in the long run. So ideally, they are potential blockers, but we can stop them from becoming blockers. How do we stop them from becoming blockers? Number one, make sure you're spending quality time as a team to go through the requirements, to understand the requirements, to groom the requirements. If you're spending quality time to groom the requirements, then believe me, you'll be able to uncover these dependencies. When you uncover these dependencies, what happens next? Try to make it as transparent as possible. One of the pillars of Scrum preaches about transparency. Let's try to make sure that our artifacts, let's try to make sure that the work we are doing as a team is what is transparent to all involved, to all the stakeholders. So once you identify your dependencies, make them transferable in one way or the other. How can you do that? Maybe you have a platform, a Confluence page where you map and track your dependencies, right? Then when you understand those dependencies, number two, as a Scrum Master, work with your team to make sure you're communicating clearly what needs to be done, right? You're working with the other team that needs to deliver that dependency. In our last use case, we spoke of the UX design team. So if you're waiting for the UX screens from the UX design team, then you are communicating that need with that team to make sure that they are in alignment with your team, right? Alignment here is the key. Once you communicate, it's not just enough. What I usually do is I follow up from time to time to make sure that they are in alignment with the agreement we had initially, right? So think about it. Most of the time, teams will prioritize their work, right, before they start looking into the work of other teams. So if you're constantly reminding the other team of your requirement, of your dependency, then they will also make sure they commit that time to deliver what you need. So guys, communication is very, very important. When you understand what dependencies your team needs, clearly communicate that dependency, right? To make sure it doesn't affect your deliverables, to make sure it doesn't affect a key release milestone, to make sure it doesn't affect a key release MVP for the organization. Number two, when you communicate it, make sure you're following up. How do you follow up? Make sure you constantly reach out to whosoever is in charge, the team in charge, to see if they are still in alignment, still in agreement with your team. So guys, the secret is to stay proactive. So fam, if you found this content useful, please like, share, comment, and most importantly, turn on the notification bell for subsequent notifications. Peace.